Hello, everybody. So I'm hoping that you all can assist me with some questions that I have. And I can put them in the description, in case you come by and you have some answers. But there are some things that I don't quite understand about information systems and all that. So I know there's a whole bunch of smart people on this YouTube. So I'm, hoping y'all can help me out. So the first question is about ports. So I'm getting clearer about, I know what ports are and what they do, okay, the function of them. However, what I do want to know is what's the relationship between ports and file systems? I feel like there's something there's something there, right? Like there has to be something there. Ports and file systems, like I need a really good metaphor to help me understand this. There is a relationship. I know there is. Like there kind of has to be, right? I just need to understand like how something's missing there for me to really get it. And I've been looking it up, Googling it and stuff, but Google does not have the exact questions I'm asking, okay? And some things, the answer is there. I just got to figure it out. All right. So if you can help me out with that, that would be awesome. Now, the other one I'm wondering is, I've been working in the command line for a bit, helping out my friend with his course. So, and even before that, but I want to know, does the operating system work the same in the command line as it does in the GUI? Or is it like stripped down or something? I don't know. I would think it would need to work the same way. But I just want to know like a really good, clear explanation of how it works in the command line versus the GUI. My next big question is regarding memory. Now, from what I can gather, memory is a physical thing. It's ones and zeros, or on and off pulses of electricity or energy or whatever the hell. Okay, so it's a physical thing. You put on plates or whatever the hell they put it on, and it makes physical space for other data, other ones and zeros, I guess. Okay, I'm really trying to envision this. Okay, I'm a very visual learner, so I'm trying to envision what this is. Now, the way that I see it is that, of course, the more memory you have, the more you can do, right? So a little memory is like me trying to run a race in a closet or something. There's not a lot of space, so that I can't do that much. So the more memory I have, like the side, this room, I can do a lot more because there's more room to do it, right? There's more, so I can do things faster and all that. So I get that, okay? So what do I have here? Memory is space. Okay, so memory is like the medium. It's almost like if you think of water, right? So data needs to be able to move. Data, ones and zeros need to be able to move, maneuver, or whatever. But they need a medium to do that. And I guess memory is like the medium that they use to do that, which is the ones and the zeros, right? But data itself is ones and zeros. I'm gonna need like a computer scientist or something, maybe to help me understand this kind of stuff. So now memory is very important, right? Because I feel like from what I read is that nothing, well, not nothing, you can at least power on the computer, but after powering it on, if there's no memory there, nothing's going to happen, right? You can't do anything, really. I read somewhere that your computer might beep at you a couple of times to let you know danger, Will Robinson or something, but you're not going to get very far. So I got that with memory. So I need to know, again, about the ports and the relationship between ports and file systems. Okay, that would be really useful. Does the operating system work the same in the GUI as it does in the command line? And if not, like, tell me what are the differences? How does it work differently? And I don't think I have a question about memory. I just want a better explanation than the one I've come up with on my own, you know, or at least validate that that I'm on the right track with exactly what that is. Okay. Now I don't need to know this for anything, you know, a job or, you know, anything major like that. However, I do need to understand these things a little more clearly so that I can break it down in a way that a 5-year-old can understand. Okay. Because clearly it's not being done that way now. Otherwise, I'd be able to understand it. I wouldn't be on here, you know, asking y'all to help me. Okay. So, and again, like I said, I am going to take a computer science thing on Coursera, because I'm sure that can help me out with what I'm trying to do. All right. If you have answers, please go ahead and I'm going to type this stuff in the description so y'all can see the questions. And if you don't mind, you know, go ahead and hey, NC Worker, how you doing? NC Worker, I'm assuming you work in cybersecurity, right? Do you? And if you do, if you don't mind telling me, like, where do you work? Like, what kind of, are you like a SOC analyst or an engineer or something like that? If you don't mind, now, if you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, I'm just asking because I got questions. Because as a policy person, like, I need to know fundamental things. You're not in cyber at all? Okay. You did tell me the other night that you were doing some Lean Six Sigma. So you must do quality management or something, right? Or like Baldrige. Are you familiar with the Baldrige criteria and all that? Those are the kinds of, I love the Baldrige criteria. Like, I love doing that. I didn't do Baldrige. I did the VA's equivalent of Baldrige, which is the carry awards they have instead of Baldrige awards. But that quality systems management stuff I think it's fun. It's really fun. It's very exciting to me. Oh, pharmaceuticals. Okay, so you make like 7 figures a year or something, right? That's awesome. Pharmaceutical retail. Very nice. Well, I was just on here asking questions about, do you work with computers then? Or are you just interested in cyber? Or what? I'm studying so that I can get a better job. Okay, in quality systems or like in cybersecurity? So actually, you know, the job I had before this one, I took to take this job in cybersecurity. You said you wish. To take this job in cybersecurity, you know, to change careers, I took a what do I get now? I get that. I took about a $30,000 pay cut. And in this area, that's not a good idea. Okay, that is not a good idea to be down 30,000 a year. Okay, so I need to. I like what I do, but I really feel like I'm not getting compensated for what I'm capable of right now. So I definitely need to do something about that. I need to do something about that. Yeah, and you know what I wish? I wish I could just do what I like to do without having to worry about, you know, being paying bills and trying to eat and all. You know, I just want to do what I like to do and be done. Just be done with it, you know, not all these other decisions that you got to make about pay and benefits and all that. You know, I should have been a movie star and I wouldn't have all these issues, right? So I can't ask you these questions, NC Worker. I don't think you would know the answer about operating systems and memory and ports and stuff. So I'm gonna have to wait till somebody comes around who knows those kinds of things. I used to work with computers when I was in college. I did a work study program with computers. Okay, you know what? When I was growing, I grew up in Louisiana. I have experience with computers mostly in the line of, oh, okay, A plus, right. Yeah, so you know how to break them down and put them apart, put them together and all that. So, when I was, doing all these courses and things that I do for people, especially kids, and helping them to learn stuff, I have to really break things down, which I love. But what I read, and which makes sense, is that that the internet, like when you say internet and cyberspace are two different things, right? Where you cannot have a cyberspace without internet, because the internet is like the A plus stuff, right? The internet is the hard stuff you can touch and see, and like the cables under the ocean and all that. I even read an article about how sharks are eating the internet. That was the title of the article. Sharks are eating the internet because those cables down there, the sharks are attracted to, I don't know, whatever they let off, electricity or some kind of thing that they let off, sharks are attracted to that vibe or something. And they go over there and they bite them. Okay. So all the satellites and the towers and all that stuff, all the wires and the A plus stuff, all that stuff is the internet, which I thought was interesting because I thought it was all the same, the internet, cyberspace, whatever, same thing. But however, I did do work, the networking administrator, information technology, and the programmers. I did too. So you do know this stuff then. Do you know anything about operating systems or ports? You know about ports then, right? Do you know if a port, do you know the relationship between a port and a file system? Do you know what that is? I've been looking that up and I'm not getting the granularity of information that I need. I feel like there's something there. I'm just not getting it. Because the ports, both physical and logical, right? Especially the logical, I think. Well, maybe both, I don't know. Hey, Keep It Techie. Keep It Techie, can you answer some questions for me? I have questions. Hi, Bronze Yoga. All right, I'm glad you guys are here. Let me repeat my questions, okay? Because I know that y'all can help me with that. So the first one was about ports, okay? And Keep It Techie, I think you would know this well too. So my first question was about what is the relationship between ports and file systems? I feel like there's something there. Now, if y'all want to come up here, let me know, okay? So you don't have to be typing forever. But I have to know, like, I'm not going to be able to live a good life if I don't find out what the relationship between logical ports, let's stick with logical ports and file systems is. The port is the gateway or doorkeeper for or to the system. See, that's what so in Linux, you have the at the top there, when you pull stuff up, it'll say, especially when you go on the GUI, right? You'll see at the top it says file system up there. And I think there's like different levels or something like that, but like that. So the logical port is how the information comes into the, I'll say, computer. Is that right? That sounds like what you're saying, NC Worker, right? So when I, like email, what's the email port? POP3 or something, I don't know, whatever the hell, IMAP, whatever. So if that's the kind of service that I need an email service, all right? So I have my email ports. Keep It Techie, so a gateway to an application, can you break that down? Like, what does that mean? Okay, what does that mean? Gateway to an application. Let me tell you what I'm envisioning. What I see is like, okay, this screen, this is the computer, okay? There's nothing in here until there's data coming in through a port. Okay, TCP 25. Oh, hi, L Style. Port 22. But what does that mean? Port 22 is tied to the SSH server. Yeah, I know. So 443 is HTTPS. All right. So that's here, right? So I have a secure connection and all that stuff. So that means the port is what? Like the way the data gets into the server. Is that what you're saying? The way the data gets into the server, and then it's put, once it's in there, it's put in files, digital files or something? Yeah. So what I want to know is the relationship between the port and the file system. When I pull up my Microsoft files, or I pull up the files, in Kali Linux or whatever, that information in those files gets there via ports. Is that right? Um, Encrypted version. Okay, yeah, there it is. I dropped it. Keep it techie. Encrypted version of Telnet. What? SSH. Is that what you're talking about? That's the encrypted version of Telnet. I saw a guy take a teletype machine and make it into a Linux command line. That was really cool. Can you keep it techie? Your microphone is off if you're talking.
Hey, what's up? Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Trying to. There we go. All right, cool. So, I mean, I guess the way I look at it is like a highway, or a highway with a bunch of roads that go in and out of the operating system for data to travel. And so basically the ports, they just simply interact with files on the actual file system. So let's say let's just look at it like a website or a web server, so to speak. There are ports that you can open on the system, and basically the ports really is to block traffic as well as allow traffic to come in, but you can limit the traffic that goes out from the server using it. And I know you kind of understand firewalls and all that stuff, but the basically the ports, or how data on the system actually interacts with the internet. Because all right, and the reason I say that, because most of the time when you make a request, let's say you make a website request from a server, when the data comes back, it doesn't matter what port it goes through. So those ports are basically a whole bunch of highways coming in that pulls in all the data. It doesn't have to go through a specific port. Now, when it's going to hit the server, it has to hit the port that you specify for that server, and that's open, which is port 80 for a web server.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. All
and
right.
so, I mean, it's basically wide open when you're receiving data, unless you have it blocked down or locked down in some type of way. But most of the time is wide open for the data to come in, because you want the data to come in as fast as possible to the system. And so you kind of got to understand networking too, because that's and I hope I'm making sense, but
no, you are.
Yeah, that's I can't remember those layers, but the OSI model layers or whatever, that all ties into one of those. I think it's the application layer. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing, but it's at one of those layers. So you have to kind of understand networking in order to understand the way the ports work. or how they transmit and receive data, so to speak.
Okay,
If that
so
makes sense.
what I read is for the file system, right? Like the reason why, if we had no file systems, data would just
Mhm.
be all together, like all smushed all over the place, unorganized, just stuff floating all over the place, right? So the files, just like in real life, files keep things organized, right?
Yeah.
So the files keep a certain kind of data, in that file,
Well,
or
it all depends on what you're sharing, because um, the operating system by default doesn't share data to anybody on the web. You have to obviously connect it to the internet, and
yeah.
then you also have to open up ports to allow the data to be shared. Because inherently, it's not shared until you spin up an application or whatever to share that data out to the internet, or it could be the local network. You know how in like the Windows operating system they have that, I forget what they call it. Is it sharing locally or something, like the type of network that you're connected to? You could
Okay.
like share out files within the
The
network
local file
if you're on
system.
a private network. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I
So
mean that
sharing is
that
not
basically
the default.
makes. Oh, go ahead.
So you say sharing is not the default for the
Yeah,
operating.
it's not inherently it's not. You would have to go in and but that's why I say application layers, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
to allow things to be shared out. And that's why most operating systems, um, the firewall is turned on by default. That way,
Mm-hmm.
nobody can access anything on your system, unless it's like a 0 day or something within the application
Right.
that'll allow something in. That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. No, I got that. Okay. So speaking of the operating system, so my other question was, does it work differently on the GUI than it does on the command line?
No, it doesn't.
It does.
I mean, basically, like for instance, if we're talking about Linux, because I know you're trying to learn Linux, there's a GUI application. I think it's called um, most GUI applications, they put a G in front of the actual application name, basically standing for GUI.
Okay.
So I think it's GUFW. I think that's what it's called.
I,
It's basically UFW. That
uh-huh.
application, there's basically a GUI that's basically sits on top of that allows you to manage the firewall using a GUI application. But you can do everything from the command line. You just have to understand the commands.
Hmm.
The GUI is basically running the commands for you. That's all it's doing. It's like somebody put together an application, and based on what you select and what you click on, that's going to do the exact same. It's going to write out the command that you would use for the firewall that you would actually type in the command line. It'll basically put that together for you and run it in the command line in the background and change whatever settings you changed in the firewall.
Got it.
So that's all it's doing.
All right. I never heard that before. Okay.
Mhm.
So,
That's just like you have you ran into ORSync yet?
no.
Okay, ORSync is an application that allows you to copy data or synchronize data between two different locations. Well, there is a GUI version of that, and it's called GORSync.
Hmm.
So it's an application that basically you can go in and click the little buttons and tell it what you want it to do. I wanted to move files from here to here, and I wanted to go over SSH and all this stuff, and it'll basically put the command, it'll basically run that command that you would run in the command line
Hmm.
from the GUI and say, okay, successfully completed. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. No, I got that. All right. So it does work the same in the command line. As
Hmm.
okay.
You
So
just
what?
don't see it. you know.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, do you know a lot about memory?
Um, a little bit.
Okay, so this is what I get. All right. So memory is basically the space you have to for your applications to run, to do stuff.
Hmm.
That pretty much right?
Yes.
So so what I also get is that memory is a physical thing. So memory itself is not like the space around us here. It's like ones and zeros. So you have memory is physical. Like you have to, or the pulses, the on and off, pulses and stuff, right? And it's put on a plate or whatever the hell is put on, right? So it's the space in which the data or the medium in which the data can move around, almost like water, right? And the more you have,
Yeah. I mean, it reason the purpose of memory is it's used because uh you can read and write from it very rapidly, and it's mainly to hold applications that you have open, so or services that you have open. So the memory basically holds that information so it doesn't have to read and write from the hard drive, which used to be slower until they came out with SSDs.
okay,
So that's why when people say, "Oh, I want to upgrade my memory or whatever," because they may be having, I guess, running into applications starting to slow down or not work as well because they're running out of memory, which is faster than the old spindle hard drives or the platter hard drives that are typically in a computer. So basically what happens is the data that you don't have to access as much is written to the hard drive. The data that you need to access quickly is most of the time written to the memory. So like when you're running an application, let's say you're just to use it simple, most of what we're doing right now is ran in the browser. That
mm-hmm.
information is written and deleted very rapidly because
Okay,
it's not needed to be stored. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yep,
So it's kind of running through the memory and then running to YouTube basically from the browser. So the browser is where you have StreamYards up, and that's actually in memory, and it's running through the memory um, out to YouTube. It's basically
right,
what it's doing. It's being cached and then
uh-huh,
sent out quickly, rapidly. That's kind of a simple representation of how the memory is working because it doesn't have to be written to the hard drive. Now,
uh,
the Chromium application itself is written to the hard drive. It's installed on the hard drive, the application itself, because you
okay,
just need that to actually open up the application. But you need the memory to go to the different various websites, which is where it's temporarily stored until you close the application, and
mhm.
which meaning we'll close the browser and it's dropped out of memory at that point.
Okay, so all right, I think I get that, and I also saw something about how if it move like CDs, right? It's other things that hold data
Hmm.
that, oh my God, what did it say? So like a USB is like
Flash memory.
holds more than like a CD because of the movement or something. Does this movement have anything to do with that? I know I read something like that.
Now
No.
I can't really explain uh how USB holds data. I know it's flash memory.
Mhm.
It's similar to the memory that's written on or that's used in SSDs.
Okay.
And it's pretty much faster than
Yeah.
reading something from a CD. The way a CD works is it's similar to a record from back in the day.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the way it's written to the CD is basically written in a circular pattern, just like on a record.
So
And
when you say
so,
faster, are you saying more space? Is that what you mean when you say
no,
faster?
when I
No.
say faster, that means it's read from the medium at a faster rate, meaning that the computer can process it faster or display it faster from, because like I don't know if you ever seen it, but if you put in a CD, I mean, I'm pretty sure you have seen this. You put in a CD into your computer, in your laptop, it takes like it's a short amount of time, but let's say it takes like 10 seconds to actually for
Yeah.
the system to scan it
Yeah.
and display what's on the CD. It could
Right.
take like 20 seconds, really.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
and
noticed.
then if you stick in a USB, it'll pop up almost instantly. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
like 3 seconds or 5 seconds
Okay.
for that. That means the computer can read off of it faster.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Those are
and somebody just said it in the chat. USB 2.0 transfers data at 480 megabits per second. USB 3.0 transfers at 5 gigabits per second. So that's the USB levels, though. But I don't know how fast you can read off a CD. That's why I didn't want to,
mm-hmm.
you know,
Oh, I see
say the
it. Yeah.
wrong thing.
Oh, that's L style. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, L style. No, this is good. All right. So tell me, okay, absolute and relative paths. I had the hardest damn time trying to figure out, but I think it was the explanation. Hey, Alpha Cybersecurity, how are you? Thank you so much for being here. I think I got it though. Okay. So what I understand is that absolute means I have to start from root, like from wherever I am, I have to start from root to get to whatever file that I'm trying to get to. Is that
Mm-hmm.
correct? And
Yeah.
relative is I just start from wherever I am.
Yeah. And let me just kind of, I guess, explain it. When you, and actually, let's do it like this. Can I share
Yeah,
something?
go ahead,
You allow
please.
me to share?
Oh, that'd be great.
Let's see.
I
Terminal.
know. Hi, Davin. I'm glad you're here. Yep. Mike Shinnery, thank you for being here too.
So I know you gotta approve it on your side or something. You can see.
Oh, do I? Yeah, I do. I
Yeah, I
do.
think so.
Oh, here it is. Yep.
All
Okay.
right. So let me make it a little, zoom in a little more. Yeah. Well, that's fine. Well, anyway. So, um, just to start off, I guess from here, whenever you open up the terminal, this
Mhm.
tilde right here that I have highlighted, that lets you know that you're in the home directory of the person that's logged into this machine,
Okay.
which this is the person that's logged into the machine.
Got it.
So it's Josh at the host name. So this is the name of my computer. And then the
Okay.
tilde lets you know you're in the home directory of Josh. So therefore, the absolute path, though, because the current path is actually, hold on, I could just do it this way. Hold on, print working directory. I could run this command. This is probably a basic command most people need to learn when they first get into Linux. But that's the absolute directory. But it's this is and I might have said it wrong. Absolute versus relative. And
Yeah.
yeah, and this is considered the relative path,
Okay.
represented by the tilde. But this
Okay.
is the full path to the location that I am at, which is the
Mhm.
absolute um, location, so to
Okay.
speak. So, and this is under the root directory,
Yep.
the home folder, and then the actual folder for the user
Got it.
itself.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so each time you can create multiple users on there, and they'll all stored under the home directory, and they'll all have their own separate folders.
So but from what I understand of the absolute though, is you have to start at root, right? Like what if you're not root? Like
If you're
how do
not
how
root, you'll start in the location I was saying with the home directory. That's where you'll always start.
okay.
You see what I'm saying?
So
I don't know if I'm making sense.
when would you use why would you choose to use one or the other? Like, what's the advantage of using absolute versus relative?
I think it's just well, I'm gonna have to look up the name. I understand what absolute, when they say absolute,
Mm-hmm.
that's basically the full
Yeah.
directory or the full location to the directory that you're currently working in.
Uh-huh.
But relative, and maybe I'm explaining this wrong. Hold on, let me make sure.
So if I'm looking at a what do you call it? A what the hell is that thing you call at work where you show the CEO up here and all that stuff? Org chart, an org chart,
Mhm.
right? It seems like absolute means if I'm in HR, you know, and I want to get to facilities, absolute means I got to start at the CEO's office, no matter where to
Mhm.
get to facilities. Versus relative, where if I'm in HR, I can just start from HR and go across to facilities, like wherever facilities is. That's the way I've understood it. Pseudo. Mike said pseudo
I can use
access.
relative. Oh, I think I know what it. I think I get what it's saying, or I think I get what it's talking about. Hold on, hold on.
Mhm.
Okay, I think I know what it's talking about. So, uh, no, that can't be right.
It's not right.
Hold on, hold on.
Mike Shinnery, are you in cyber? Have you been over here before? I don't remember seeing your icon.
Yeah, so I explained that right. Basically, the absolute path is the location based on the root directory, like the full location. Basically, what I was saying, like the home. Well, this is considered root. This is the root location, and then home, and then Josh. That's the absolute path.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the relative is where I'm getting. Hold on, relative path. Just find my path related to
So
change. I can use relative path concepts to
Mike just said
change the
once.
direct. Okay, I get it. So, like for instance, if I ls my directory, so the relative path is basically what's already understood, meaning that I'm currently in my home directory and I want to move to a directory underneath that directory, then I can just change
Right.
change directories just to that directory. Like I have this test folder within my home directory.
Mm-hmm.
Then instead of typing out the absolute path, which would be home and then Josh and then Tess, that's the absolute path to that directory.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doing that, I could just do CD and
Yes.
Tess since I'm already in there and go into that directory.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so that's what it means.
Okay. So it could be like a matter of just speed or
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a matter of speed because I mean, instead of typing that full path out, which I do in certain cases, like when I'm running like a or sync like I was talking about earlier, then a lot of times I use the absolute path just to make sure that I'm copying over what I want to copy over and I'm
Yeah.
not accidentally grabbing something that I shouldn't be grabbing, if that makes sense.
Right. Right. And I also read it for Cyber Warrior Studios. Hello. For URLs too. I read it for like I can type in http colon / www.youtube.com or just youtube.com.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I read. It's kind of like comparable to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was one other, what was it? What was the other question? Oh, so I did the video you have about getting to Wikipedia through
Mm-hmm.
fan line. That was really
Mm-hmm.
cool. That was really cool. That was awesome. And we share it tonight. So Dr. Phillips, he's doing a Linux class on Saturday. So
Mm-hmm.
he shared your video on how to do a virtual box in the email he sent. It's for Blacks in Cyber, and it's gonna be like
Okay.
up to 100 students in the class. So he sent that link
Okay.
to them so they can, make sure they got all their stuff together before the class.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, I just to let you know that, yeah. But your videos are so helpful. A lot of fun stuff, like stuff I totally didn't know that you could do. That was the
Yeah.
question, right? Can I do everything in the command line that I can do on the GUI?
Yes.
There's nothing that I can't do, like everything.
Pretty much.
Oh,
Now, well, obviously you can't do like video editing or which you actually can. You could do a lot of it in the command line as well. You can edit videos in the command line as well. It's just better to have a representation of what you're actually doing by looking at it. So you need a graphical environment. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like for instance, a lot of those like my latest video I just did on um video editing.
Mm-hmm.
The back end of a lot of those applications actually uses um what do you call it? FFmpeg, which is a command line based application.
What is
So
it
you can
called?
do
FFmpeg.
FFmpeg. So it's FFmpeg.
Okay.
It's an
All right.
application. It's an open source application that you can use to. Uh, it's a lot of stuff you could do with either audio and video,
Mm-hmm.
and this application is used on the back end of a lot of the editing software, especially open source software.
Mm-hmm.
FFmpeg is like when I do my videos, I use
Mm-hmm.
Kden Live, which is a GUI based application, and I drag
Mm-hmm.
and drop my videos, move it around, put you know um, um, transitions on it and all that stuff. Well, once I'm done, I have to render it out. And the
Mm-hmm.
render process is basically FFmpeg and a
Okay.
whole bunch of options and commands based on what all I did in the GUI application. You see what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
that GUI application is basically running a FFmpeg command to do what I specified in the GUI application for it to do. Now
Mm-hmm.
you can handle all that on the command line. It'll take you forever, you know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
it can be done. I mean, essentially.
So Cyber Warrior Studio says you have more access to the system. I'm assuming that you're saying from the GUI, I mean from the command line,
Yes.
have
Yeah,
more
you do.
access
Yeah,
to.
you could do a lot more things from the command line. Now, applications or GUI applications are really there just to make people's lives easier
Mm-hmm.
working with these commands. Like I was explaining about OrSync. They got that GUI version of OrSync.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like SSH. Um, well, that's not a good example because it opens up a command line anyway. But instead of running SSH directly, yeah, and I'm sorry, I meant to stop sharing, but
Oh, it's
instead
okay.
of running SSH from the command line, all putty is doing is taking what you put in the putty and SSHing into the server and opening up a terminal.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Okay.
makes sense.
Cyber Warrior says, does that allow for utilizing the GPU? I used Kden Live for a while, but it didn't use the GFX card like I can in, oh, Windows. I
Mhm.
can't do I can't do in Windows what I can do in Linux, can I? Because it's not open source.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty much, um, Windows basically runs different from Linux, and uh, a lot of applications are not ported over to run on the Linux operating system. So they do have like this application called Wine that can help you run certain Windows applications on Linux, but you have to, I forget what it's called, what the website is called, but you can check. But a lot of different versions of applications or won't work on Wine because they have to adjust Wine to work with um, the way the application is working, or it works on Windows. They have to constantly adjust Wine to keep up with the updates that are done to different applications. Like, I mean, it's certain versions of Photoshop you can run on Linux, but not all of them. You have to find out what specific
Right.
one has been tested and can work. But you have to use Wine, and basically what Wine is, it just creates a kind of like a virtualized Windowsy directory on your Linux operating system. It'll create like a C drive and everything, and it allows the DLL files and just all the files that um, are needed for a Windows application to run. And it puts it all together and kind of keeps it in its own little separate folder away from the Linux operating system to run the application. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Okay.
That makes
All
sense.
right.
And just to answer that question, what he was saying with the GPU, Cyber Warrior, yes, it can use the GPU now. They've done a lot of updates to Kden Live to help you out. And what's up, Gabe? Hey, thanks for coming through, man.
Have you used the Kali that comes with Windows?
No, I have not. I have not installed it, but um, I'm assuming it's pretty much the exact same thing. I just never used it.
Yeah, I installed it because I'm having a hell of a time getting VirtualBox on one of my computers. So I guess it works the same way. I mean, I don't think it can do everything that
Mm-hmm.
a Linux can do, but it seems to do a lot when I do
Yeah.
stuff in it. So yeah, it seems to be okay. All right. Okay, I think I'm done
Well, you know,
grilling.
you can run it. You know, you can. I mean, if you want to, you can write the ISO to a USB drive, and then you can actually install it to that USB drive. And then if you want to run Kali on your computer, you could just plug in a USB drive and boot up Kali when you load up your system. So you'll go right into Kali instead of Windows.
What? Shut up. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can
Okay.
install you can
I'll
install
go
these
right
different.
into Kali instead of Windows.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They have a live ISO as well where you can just play around with it if you want to. You can write the ISO to a USB drive and you can boot up the live ISO and play with Kali from there.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I'm gonna
Yep.
try that. I'm
Hmm.
gonna do that. Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that was awesome. All right, I think that's all the questions I have. You have been so helpful.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. So your course is going to be amazing. Like this is really great. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
I go on and drop off then.
Okay.
If you got any other questions though, just just holler or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
mind helping.
All
Yep.
right.
All
Thanks.
right. Bye.
And bye. Keep It Techie is so cool. And thank you all for being here. There's a lot of people in here. Keep It Techie. You're gonna have to keep coming over here so people can come visit me. L Style, thank you so much. Cyber Warrior Studios. You guys are awesome. Isn't he on point? I know. I love his videos. Absolutely do. He's so amazing. Windows Commando. What is that? Commando? Are you talking about command prompt? Is that another word for command prompt? See you later, L Style. Thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna try to go to bed a little early tonight. So I appreciate you. I got all my questions answered. You all are so awesome. You're so awesome. I appreciate every single one of you. Okay. Gabe A. Thanks for being here, Gabe A. All right. I'll see you guys later. Y'all have a good night. All right. Bye-bye.